morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome back to Nerdin' Out. Finally, my name is Evan. It's so good to have you guys back. This is, I got two crazy. Thank you.
Yeah, we replaced David. Now we have Alexander.
Alexander Hamilton.
Hello. My name? No, I'm kidding.
I want you to say Alexander.
All right. Well, any way I say Alexander's gonna come out Russian somehow.
I'm thinking Alexander Hamilton the musical.
Oh, I hated that.
Really?
I hated that.
Why?
I'm sorry.
I haven't watched it. I've listened to some.
I was
of the
not a
music.
fan of Hamilton at all.
I really only liked one song from it, and it was Nonstop, and that's like the only song I really liked.
Did you listen to it nonstop?
Kind of.
Why did Lotta marry you? No, I'm kidding. Okay. No.
Oh, that's a high blow.
I just did not care for that.
I
watched it three times.
For a lot of reasons.
I watched it 3 times, so I gave it the college try. I
So
give things
hi
3
listeners.
Hi.
We're not, our topic isn't Hamilton
Nothing's
today.
changed.
Nothing's changed. We're random. We don't have any structure.
My spine is literally jello, and
So,
yeah.
welcome back. We know we have been missing. We've been MIA. We've been taken hostage.
No one put our face on a milk carton. I'm fucking pissed.
I'm kind of disappointed about that, honestly, too.
But then I don't know anyone who buys milk anymore.
Yeah, I don't drink milk. Oh,
You don't drink milk?
So only Evan.
Well,
would
no, like I
know about us.
I buy milk.
Oh, you buy milk?
Yeah.
But do you buy it in a carton?
No, I don't think anyone
no,
buys
in
it
a
in a
jug.
carton.
Yeah,
in a jug. In a very thin jug that like resembles a carton.
But
buy
people
mine.
don't really put
2%.
People don't put faces on any milk cartons anymore.
That's not a thing anymore.
no,
No,
you just
Well, no.
post on-
Now we just have Amber Alerts.
or you just post on Facebook.
There was no Amber Alert for Nerdin' Out. I am hurt.
Okay, long-winded story time.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm buying milk, right?
Would this qualify as a David Strobridge?
No,
No.
He's
no,
not mad about the milk, I think.
because I've already resolved that feeling.
Oh, really?
So when someone tells you to go buy something, you usually just buy it, right?
Yeah.
When someone tells you to buy milk, what do?
I go buy milk.
Which kind?
The white kind.
Whole milk, 2%, 1%.
Okay.
Fat free,
I get
lactose free, almond.
I get 2%.
Skim,
I get 2.
soy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Can we stop with the milk already?
I mean, I would just get the 2%.
Listen,
I would just get because it doesn't matter.
Fat free tastes like water. 2% tastes like fat free, but with less water. 2% tastes like what milk should taste like. Whole milk tastes like what 2% shouldn't taste like, and almond milk's an abomination. Soy milk's for atheists, and I'm sorry, but skim milk is straight up made out of socks. I'm sorry, but we need to stop. With
I don't know how I feel about this.
Have you heard of cashew milk?
I don't want to hear about cashew milk, Evan. I go to the store. What do I get? Whole milk. I'm thinking, we're baking something. We're making spaghetti. We're making mac and cheese.
Who's we?
My girlfriend and I.
Okay.
So I'm like, we're doing something with this milk. We're not just going to straight up drink it. No, it's straight up drinking milk. So she's just like, pours herself a glass. And in my mind, I'm like, no. And she drinks and she's just like, what is this? And I'm like, I don't even know what it is, but I bought it.
It says milk.
And now you're drinking it. And now I'm sorry. And immediately she gives me this look like, I'm not drinking this. So I walked out, got in my car, drove back to CVS, got 2%, came back, gave her the jug, apologized, and said these words that I will always say: this is the only milk I will ever buy from now on. Period. End of story. So, first off, as to your comment about cashew milk, do we have enough nuts making milk already? Why do we have almond milk?
Well, you didn't mention rice milk, did you? Did you mention rice milk?
You said, did you mention, and I don't hear anything after that. I'm sorry. We don't. Why? Who's out there like, milk's okay, 2%'s not good, neither is 1%, neither is skim, neither is almond, neither is cashew milk, neither is... I'm sorry. I have enough fingers to count milk, and you still have a problem with those options. That's like being like, you have McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr., Burger King, Arby's. You have like so many other fast food options, and you're telling me, you know what, I need a healthier option. Let's go to the Habit. Why? Why do you go to the Habit? You're spending twice as much on burgers that taste half as good.
Damn. strong opinions.
So no, that's not David Trowbridge. It's just a
Are you
strict opinion.
sure?
It's a
I
strict.
think he wandered onto the bridge about halfway through.
A strict
You're
opinion.
You're walking towards the bridge.
I see it. I made it. It's mine. I own this. I know what. I know what
not to
things.
walk on it.
I know what things are meant to be, like, relevant, and everything else except 2% is not meant to be relevant. 2% is perfect to cream milk. It's perfect to make a bolognese sauce. It's perfect for mac and cheese. Perfect to drink. Perfect to make cakes. Perfect for everything that you need to do with milk. Everything else, you tell me. You try to make mac and cheese out of almond milk. Tell me how that tastes. You tell me how a cake made out of cashew milk will taste. A chocolate cake out of cashew milk. I'm asking the wrong person. Tell me what cake. No, I'm sorry. I don't like having to go to the store and literally be ambushed with billions of options that all literally have no appeal except to just be an option other than the option you should be getting.
You got to talk to Lava because we had the same exact conversation in the car. She was like, I hate America because there are so many freaking choices.
There's no point. Okay.
I mean, to be fair, real milk from cows should just be thrown in the trash because humans shouldn't be drinking that crap.
This is true. But
What?
mac and cheese, it's my life. I need milk.
He needs
I
some
need some milk.
Need some milk.
And from that,
milk.
I transition to blue milk
Yes.
from The Last Jedi,
Actually,
which probably tastes better than 2%. Because if
the Last Jedi,
Mark Hamill.
it was green milk.
was it green?
It was green.
Really?
Huh?
The milk that he squeezes out of that creature's nipple and drinks right in front of Rey is green milk. I think it was like a.
Are we having a debate now on what
Maybe
color
it was blue,
the milk
like
is?
Blue-green?
No, I'm pretty sure it was just straight green.
Well,
It was like a pale green, like the pale blue milk was.
I like how I did that though. I did actually
Bring it
pull
back.
through with the
Wow,
transition.
that was a very long-winded transition.
I said it'd be a long-winded story.
Dude.
This is the only reason I'm here, is to transition. I'm
long-winded
I'm the
transition.
commercial of this podcast. I'm supposed to.
Speaking of commercials, we would love to make commercials for
If you have anything except
milk.
2% milk, don't talk to me. You're a 2% milk company.
I wanted to shout out Manscaped followed us on Twitter. So, hey, like you heard David's long-winded thing about milk. Can you imagine what we could do for your your Manscaped razor,
Seriously.
the Lawnmower 2.0?
Don't talk to me about
The question
doing
is,
this
do we
stuff
want
with
that,
clippers.
or do we want to manscape the situation?
Why are we even here? He's better at this than we are.
Yeah, clearly.
I don't understand this.
Yeah. Debate time. I have made it known in previous podcasts. Nathaniel's made it known in previous. We have very different opinions about The Last Jedi, specifically. We're just gonna stick to The Last Jedi. Hopefully, I also have really strong feelings about The Force Awakens, and I don't feel like that's really a great movie either. But we're not going to talk about that.
I think we're going to touch on other episodes because, like, we have to compare at some point.
I will make sure
That is true.
But yeah, it's mainly about whether
The
or
main
not
topic
stay on the
is
topic, yeah.
we're talking about the quality, the storytelling aspect, the narrative. We're going to touch on all the elements
the
of
nitty-gritty.
yes, the nitty-gritty of the Last Jedi. I am on the side against. Nathaniel's on the side for, and David again is our.
I don't give a
Which it's actually kind of funny because he's wearing a Star Wars shirt.
He is.
I came prepared, dude.
I think that was on purpose.
It was on purpose.
Okay, it was.
I mean, I'm rocking Compass swag. This is my church's shirt. They're a year old already.
yeah,
That is a
so
very
they're-
impressive
yeah,
thing
they're
for a
they are
church.
a year old. Yeah. So.
You know what else is a year old? The Last Jedi. So.
Wow.
Oh,
Is it?
No, it's gonna be
No,
2
no.
years.
It's gonna be 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Nice
That was
try.
a really nice. I was gonna say it would have been a year like in December,
Damn.
but yeah,
2 years?
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Well,
2
it's
years.
not.
Well, on that note, who was heads?
Heads
Flip a coin.
doesn't have an actual coin.
It's tails.
It's tails.
Nathaniel, you may start.
Well, can I choose who gets to start?
Oh,
You can. You have one the flip.
let that go first.
I want Evan to go first. Opening statement.
Let that go first.
All right. Well, as a preliminary to this, I want to make sure that we stick to opinions based upon how you have evaluated the movie as an individual, not based upon the crowd perspective of things, because there's very complicated opinions of this, regardless of how people view how we'll go into episode 9. I don't want that to be a valid topic of transitioning. I want this strictly as the movie is. Like, there's nothing else.
Okay.
Like, this is the only movie that exists in the entire series. I know that there's a lot of information that is referenced to other things, but I want to see how well we can stick to what it is as the movie.
A singular film.
As a singular movie.
Okay.
So if we use any reference material, if we use anything, it will be null and void in the reference of your opinion. It must be strictly on the movie's context and the movie's ability.
So we're not like placing the film anywhere. We're not like
This is
comparing it to
not.
other
This
films.
is not in a timeline. This is not in a referendum to the future of this franchise or how Disney has made things. This is strictly
This is
how the movie was
basically-
made.
this is basically
what
just
is
a-
the movie. How
This is you
it?
sitting down and telling the director, why did you make this? Or you're good at making this. This is what you're doing, is telling this to a director, to the person who made this,
This is basically
to a creative team of
this
writers.
is basically a trial, and
Yes.
and Last Jedi is.
I will accept-
is being persecuted, and
Yeah.
like I'm the persecutor, and he's the defense attorney.
Exactly. But the only exception I will take as far as reference material goes is due to the peoples of the movie. You know, the person who plays Princess Leia, and of course Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker. Since there is past in that, as well as Chewie, as well as a couple of other people, I'll be okay if you reference certain things about their characters in which they changed, because that is relevant to the story and how the plot takes place. But anything other than that, I will make sure
to cut us off.
to cut you
So
off.
does that mean like no comparisons to other films?
You cannot compare to other films. This is strictly a standalone film basis.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Which is,
Treating
which is
this
like,
as a standalone.
We're
it's a little
treating
bit
this-
difficult because it is one part out of 9.
It is, but that's what I'm saying is as long as it's referendum, as long as the referendum to something is related to the characters of the storyline, as it is a part of a larger storyline, those characters who are either past or in future, which we don't know because we don't have a 9th episode, which is fitting for this, so we don't have to worry about future and past like if we did the prequels like we did with Doug. But
Gosh, yeah.
that was probably part of the problem, was so much of it was referencing the future movies to come, and it was not as good as 4 and 5 and 6. It's the prequel. It's supposed to set up 4 and 5 and 6. But yes, so as long as we keep to past referendum stuff involving Luke, involving Leia, involving situations involving that, I am fine with that. As long as it's based on the storyline, I am fine with referencing the past.
Okay.
All right.
I will try to stick to that. That's
Try to.
a little bit confusing. But
Okay. A handshake between debaters.
we
Yep.
should probably shake David's hand.
Evan, you may begin.
Okay.
Finish him.
Now, I want to start this off by saying that The Last Jedi had a lot of memorable and exciting moments, and it was an exciting movie. A lot of stuff happened. There was definitely great cinematic marvels. That last lightsaber fight at the end with Kylo Ren and Rey teaming up together, that was probably, the best Star Wars thing I've ever seen. However, I have to say, narratively and storytelling wise, there was so many moments in this movie that were there just to add time to a movie that didn't need to be there. There were decisions that characters made that, even if we are looking at this from a single movie standpoint, did not make sense for the characters in that movie for the time that we saw them. And I will stand by this until the day I die. Leia dies when she gets blown out the ship and she's in space. Like, space death is space death. The Force cannot save you from that. I'm sorry. That is my opening statement.
Nathaniel.
Yes, that is me. Tis I. So I think
Tis
I who killed the beast. So I think that The Last Jedi is a phenomenal movie. I think it's well done. I think the weakest aspect is probably the soundtrack, which is interesting because it's still a good soundtrack. But I think the characters make choices that make sense. I love the characters in this film. There's a few iffy moments in the film that I think could have been done better. Cinematically, I think it's the best. I mean, I know we're not supposed to compare, but I think it's the best Star Wars film in terms of cinematic quality. It's shot very well. It has a great art direction, and yeah, I think just generally, I really enjoy the story. I enjoy what's going on, the set pieces. It just meshes really well, and it just kind of brought like a fresh take to Star Wars that I really enjoyed seeing.
All right, I'm going to ask questions to both of you. Hearing your opening statements, I will evaluate and hope to have you elaborate on that opinion. I'll start with Evan since he went first. You mentioned how a lot of the details of the movie that you did like, you thought were some of the best in the series as far. What you feel like is crippling the movie is the fact that you feel like there's a lot of scenes that don't make sense or don't have purpose. Would you like to evaluate and
yes.
elaborate that?
So there are a lot of... Yeah, I see what you mean with like sticking to just the movie. Yeah, it's hard. I'll be fine. So I think the first thing that jumps to my head is how they introduced Luke into this movie, and I feel like his first interaction with Rey when he tosses the lightsaber, and just that whole thing. I think that was strictly put in for like shock and laugh effects, and I don't think that was necessary. I think there could have been a better way that you could have shown that he was done with that life, and still have it be kind of like a shock instead of him, unnecessarily throwing it over. I feel like they made that part too jokey. There was the whole mutiny scene. I think they went out of their way to create conflict amongst that ship. The thing is, I don't even remember. And the thing was, like, a lot of the characters were forgetful. I don't even remember the main chick who started leading after Leia went down.
Holdo,
thank you.
Vice Admiral Holdo.
Yes, thank you. Holdo. I don't know why Holdo doesn't just take Poe aside and go like, okay, here's the plan. Don't tell anyone. It'll be fine. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I got it. Like, don't plan a mutiny. and it could have. And the thing is, there's so many ways she could have told him the plan without telling him the entire plan, but enough so he doesn't do something stupid like that and add conflict within that. And then, oh my gosh, the whole second act sucked, because like they go to the gambling planet and they have that whole site. Finn and Rose have that whole. I can't stand Rose. Like that character did not need to be there at all. It should have they should have just taken the conflict with the ship and just taken Poe and Finn and sent them on the search to go find the master code breaker. Forget Rose. She was not important at all. Like, she had no like weight. She was basically there to say, I hate all these rich people, and then it's literally all she did. And then she like develops feelings for Finn for no real reason. They I don't know. So there was a lot of scenes that I feel like either could have been changed drastically to make the story better, or just didn't need to be there at all.
All right, Nathanael, any follow up? Is there any rebuttal to that?
Yeah. So I kind of agree with that whole like lightsaber toss with Luke. It doesn't build, at least not that I can think of. It doesn't necessarily build into the character that they showed in the film. Because if he like had met her, he would be like more standoffish and not necessarily even accept the lightsaber from her. But I think what they did with Luke in this film was phenomenal, because they added a lot more character development to him. They could have gone a lot of different ways, but I like the sort of like failed master type of aspect that they went with, where his leading drive, I think, was shame, and that shame drove him into hiding. That sort of like second redemption that he had, kind of forgetting who he was, closing himself off to the Force, and kind of losing his way, was just something. I think it made sense for the character, because Luke had. This is like referencing the other films, but Luke had kind of this okay, I'm getting the okay. We already know he's like prone to falling out of favor, and if he kind of had been, if they kind of just let Luke be this like kind of like holy god figure that could do no wrong, not only would that be like boring from like storytelling perspective, but it just doesn't make sense for human beings. Human beings are very dynamic creatures that fall from grace and come back, and just they have growth and they have like they regress. In terms of Rose, I disagree. I think she's a great character. I think she was in a way kind of like that idealistic like hope that the rebellion is built upon, and it brings love and just like this purity that a lot of other characters she is like very idealistic, like a lot of what she stands for, and she maybe isn't like as interesting or like as like dynamic as other characters. In terms of Holdo, and not telling what's his face Poe, I think it made sense. Like how could she have known that he was going to start a rebellion against her, or like a, what do you call it?
Well, she knew she knew that he was a hothead. Like
exactly.
she knew that. So do you think that maybe like in her head, maybe just a little bit, she like might have had that thought, maybe I should tell this like brash, impulsive guy who kind of like does his own thing a lot of the time a little bit of my plan so he doesn't do something impulsive and stupid?
No, I don't think so. I don't think she had any reason to think that he would cause a mutiny. Like, she knows he's on their side, and she knows that he has the resistance. Like, they are his motivation. They're what he's rooting for. She knows he's a hothead and all that, but she didn't tell anyone. And like, he had just been demoted, so who is he for her to tell him part of the plan? Like, he's just this hothead that gets up in her face, and why would she give him any attention?
As I say, he also, like, the movie starts with him embarking on this mission to try to take out one of the
the disobeying orders is one thing.
Well,
like taking over is a different thing.
It was disobeying orders, and it ultimately got a lot of people killed. So do you not think that Hodor would be like, oh crap, like this guy's a hothead and he clearly like makes really brash, impulsive decisions that are dangerous? I should probably tell him at least a little bit.
No, not necessarily. I mean, it could go either way depending on how the characters. I don't think based on what we know about Holdo, she made that decision because it makes sense for her character. Like, we could say, oh, what if she's like wiser, or what if she was really this smart? But
we could go into all the what ifs about everything, but yeah, I know.
All right. Well, moving into your opening statement, you did mention how a lot of aspects of the movie that you feel like is both cinematically and narratively better. Would you like to elaborate on why you think it's narratively better and why you believe it to be a good track movie?
Yeah, I think one thing that I really appreciated of this film is that it wasn't as black and white as other Star Wars movies. Like, it brought more of a gray kind of like area, especially in terms of Rey and Kylo when they came into contact with each other. And Kylo doesn't necessarily want to just be like a bad guy. He doesn't just want to do all the bad things. He's clearly a troubled character who wants some sort of peace, some sort of stability, but isn't necessarily like, oh, we have to be Sith or we have to be Jedi. It isn't just this duality. It's just, I just want to see the universe like at peace, he didn't necessarily want to see it at peace. He just wanted to do his own thing and be in control, him and Rey. He just saw power and he just like, I just want to be in control. Whereas Rey didn't necessarily, she obviously didn't want that. She's definitely more naive and more idealistic in terms of, the Jedi have to come on top because we're the good guys and all that crap. I thought the story does meander a little bit when they're stuck on the Dreadnought, and it does drag out a little bit, but I thought about that a lot, and kind of like in real life, stuff sometimes just drags out and is boring, is not the best. And I know like some films, they cut out that stuff because it's like, it's just dragging on forever. We want to make it more dynamic, but I think it helped kind of like show that they were waiting, and there was a time where they kind of didn't know how things were going to play out, And that kind of shows for the characters who are like, nothing's happening, nothing's being done. Like with Poe, he gets anxious and he becomes impulsive and does something. So kind of we're kept in the dark along with them, and then we see him act, and then it's revealed what's going on.
So I'm saying if she just told him a little bit,
we'll get into that.
He might have gotten anxious, but he would have been like, she says she has a plan, or I don't know.
We'll get into that.
Okay.
But I want to backtrack a bit back on your opening statement. That opening scene, a lot happens, a lot sets up the movie. Obviously, the rebellious Poe deciding to make a decision that would impact a lot of people, cause a lot of people to die, and then along with Leia getting shot out of a ship and then force her way back. Evan, you obviously have a distaste for that entire scene. I'd like you to elaborate why you feel like that doesn't fit into the theme of the movie.
Distaste doesn't even begin to describe my feelings for that. Okay, see, okay, so
I guess a better way to phrase it is, why do you feel like that scene particularly doesn't fit the entire thematic?
I feel like I feel like it was very jarring, and it was because this movie, I feel like for it being like titled like The Last Jedi, it really doesn't focus on the Jedis until like the third act, and the first two parts of the first 2 parts of the movie, there's like a little bit of Luke and Rey, and there's a little bit of Kylo, and there's some like Force shenanigans going on and all that stuff, and then there's just Leia, who is like her body is like being covered in space death, and then she just goes Force powers and floats back to the. It's a very jarring, it's just a very jarring thing that happens that doesn't really get explained. It doesn't really get, which I'm not saying like the movie has to, tell me every single thing so I know everything, but the entire time I'm going to reference back to the original trilogy, but there's never time other than like a sense that she has about Luke. There's never any indication that Leia is like a real Force user like that. And there was never any indication that Luke trained her or that she trained herself. There was never any that indication. So I get that it was supposed to be like a surprise and it was supposed to be a very like triumphant, like whoa moment. But to me, it didn't fit because it seemed like it was trying to pay off a buildup that was not there. And when that moment happened, I was like, okay, that was not deserved, and that makes no sense. That's why I didn't care for that.
Yeah, I think necessarily a build up to that moment, but then again, we hadn't had Star Wars or at least yeah. So the Leia part wasn't my favorite, but I think they were like 30 or something years. Like they're old now, Luke and Leia and all of them. They're old now. A long time has passed, and the only thing that we had seen from Leia is that she is able to sense like Luke, like and other people or whatever through the Force. But it's true we haven't seen her using any powers, or it hasn't been explained that Luke had trained her or anything. But there's like a lot of time that has passed, and a lot of that we will probably never get like filled in, or we won't be told what has happened or what other adventures they did or didn't go on. So I think it was kind of tacky, and I would say it's one of the weaker parts of the film, but I think there are a lot of things that we find out about the Force in this film, like we do in other films that are like totally fine. And
the Force of money.
Like they were talking Rey and Luke had this whole conversation about what the Force actually is and how Rey misunderstood it. It's not like something that belongs to the Jedi. It's like this force out there that causes balance and all this crap. So they had like kind of build up to it, but I think they could have done a much better job of like building up and like explaining why Leia all of a sudden has these powers. But then again, like I said, we don't know necessarily what has happened. So it was kind of jarring, but I don't think it's like completely stupid. Like it could have like something could have happened.
I guess my thing wasn't really that it was stupid. It was just more. It felt very out of place and it didn't belong. I feel like. or if I feel like it didn't belong with how little to no explanation we got for it.
I agree with that. I think it could have, like, without the explanation, yes, it could still be something that belongs in the film, but I thought it was jarring too, and kind of like and one of the weaker parts of the film.
Okay, so we can agree on that at least.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So you
Go back in the
elaborated.
groove.
I know that part of the conversation that you've been having, at least as far as the plot and the themes of the movie, and as far as
not the
writing
conversation with the voices.
goes. No, not any of that. Everything else besides that.
Oh, okay.
The voices
whole
in my
talking
head, they talk to me, they understand.
Oh my.
If
You could thank my wife for that. Every time she hears something, it always breaks out into song, and it's rubbed off on me.
it's long. No, I'm not even gonna say that because you'll start saying it.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna
But
say like including other things.
so include.
Anyway, oh no. Okay.
So your overall perspective on the movie is that it's unique because it gives itself its own unknown for the viewer to experience. Like you were saying, how, for instance, we weren't involved in the whole. Like, for instance, we were on the same side as Poe, where we didn't realize what Holdo was doing until later. Same with the characters in the movie. They were just attempting to go and find a way to get out of the situation they were in, and you have this sort of feeling of anxiety to both the viewer as well as the characters, and that was expressed, and you iterated that in a sense. Do you feel like that's the reason why you enjoy this movie, for the fact that it's different from a normal movie where you can almost predict the feelings that will come, and it's almost giving an uncertainty based on just the character interactions and the situation of the plot? And
Well,
stuff
I
like
think
that?
the whole uncertainty and like kind of like hurry up type of aspect where they're just kind of out there in space. That's just like for that particular section of the film. I don't think it necessarily carries on to the entire film. I mean, that's all I can really say on that. It doesn't really apply to the whole film necessarily. Just, yeah.
So when you say how the aesthetics of the movie and the sets of the movie, how certain aspects of that you felt drawn to, and how they were really well done, and that's kind of some of the aspects you said in your opening that was some of the reasons why you enjoyed the movie.
Okay, so some of the set pieces that I really enjoyed, for example, were like, I thought the opening with the bombers was well done in terms of like an action sequence and like, again, I think some of the parts of the film they can be a little cheesy. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, you had Poe going up against a dreadnought by himself, and they're like, he's too close to the blasters, we can't shoot him, or we'll like shoot ourselves or something. But it was kind of a cool action sequence to see him weaving in and out and taking out the blasters, and then having the bombers come in and be taken out one by one. Having the girl like lose her pilot, who releases bombs, and she falls, and then she kind of sacrifices herself. The whole, like Evan talked about,
which just so happens to be Rose's sister or whatever, which is stupid. But
I mean, it could have been anyone. Like,
I mean, but it just happened to be her sister. I feel like I don't know. I didn't get the whole like needing to like connect Rose to the story. That if they were gonna put Rose in the story anyway, I don't feel like they needed to connect her to someone else who really didn't have any. I don't know. I feel like that was.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of a coincidence.
The whole like like coincidental like sibling trope. Like, I don't know. Especially like in a Star Wars movie. Like, we don't need more of that.
I mean, Star Wars in general can be pretty tropey anyway. But yeah, I think there were a lot of bomber ships, and yeah, the last one just happened to be her sister. Yeah, that's whatever. That's a pretty common trope that's overused, definitely. But like you talked about the scene with Rey and Kylo kind of like fighting everyone off. Mm-hmm. One of the highlights, really good action scene.
Yes, it was.
That's one of the standouts. I really enjoyed that. What else? I'm blanking out.
I think for me, like the outstanding parts of the movie, which there were a good handful of them, but I think that, I mean, the part where Holdo does the light speed jump through the Empire ship like that.
That was like aesthetically like really nice.
That was a really great scene. It looked beautiful, but I feel like, to me anyway, the outstanding stuff doesn't outweigh the parts that I don't like about the movie or wish that were different. And I think that's what ultimately brings it down a lot for me, is that if I watch it again, it's basically watching and waiting to get to the good parts, and then once I get to the good parts, and after I've seen the good parts, then it's like, okay, well, then what am I watching this for? But the thing that really bugs me is that all the really good parts are at the end of the movie. So it's like I have to sit through 2 acts that are really really forgetful, and then I get to the end, which is really good, but I feel like I don't want to sit through. I don't want to watch a movie, or a movie doesn't have good replay value to me if I feel like I have to sit and wait for the good part. It should all be the good part.
Well then.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
If I didn't say it, I was going to forget it. So.
No, that's definitely, yeah. So, I think definitely towards the end you have a lot of more dynamic, highlight type moments.
I mean, it's the climax, for me, so it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the other moments that stand out to me is the whole connection between Rey and Kylo that kind of Snoke later reveals that he kind of implemented. I really like those conversations that they have where it ends up by them almost touching hands, and Luke comes in and is no, and then breaks everything down. I think a lot of the moments in the first 2 parts of the film are definitely less dynamic. They aren't as flashy, but I think the Rey moment and the bomber moment early on, and some of the comedy, that's one thing I really appreciate. The fact that they went a little bit goofier this time, they had some comedy in there. I thought it worked pretty well. I've seen it several times, and for me, it's just as funny each time.
It's funny you say that. I don't remember any funny parts in the movie. Yeah, I genuinely don't. I mean, other than some of the bits with the caretakers on the island. I'm really spacing on actual comedy bits.
How many times have you seen the movie?
I've seen it a handful of times, maybe
I think I've seen it
3-4 times.
Okay, so a decent amount. Yeah, I've seen it 6 times.
I've really tried to give it a shot. But every time I watch it, I feel the same thing. I'm sitting through a lot of I'm sitting through parts that I could live without to get to the parts that I really like. There's a part at the end where they have the planet with the salt and the red underneath. That's really dynamic looking. You got the battle between hologram Luke and Kylo Ren. that was actually cool. I give a lot of props to that scene specifically, because it actually, watching it a second time, you actually notice a lot of the subtleties with Rey's steps, Kylo's steps, and Luke's steps, and
where he doesn't
where he doesn't drag across and see. Yeah, so kind of a lot of things like that. So it made me the first time I watched it in theaters, I didn't really notice it at first, but then the thing that made me think that something was up was he had the old lightsaber, the blue lightsaber that Rey just had on the ship, that was cut in half, which made me think, wait, how does he? That doesn't make sense. But I'm maybe he has another one. Whatever. I'll let it go.
Yeah, I remember we watched it together, and then after you talked about that,
you're like, oh yeah, you're totally right. How the hell did he get that?
Yeah.
As a little Easter egg, remember the scene when they had shot at him not knowing he was a hologram? Why did he wipe off his shoulder when there's possibilities of there being dust on a hologram?
Oh dang.
Well, he was just,
I'm sure he's probably playing it up to make him. No. I was gonna say, yeah, he's probably just acting. Yeah, that's true. But
anyway, there's definitely there's a slow burn in the beginning, and things definitely build up, and I think
saying slow burn is really for me that's generous. I feel in the first act nothing's even lit at all. To me, it doesn't feel like it at all. Feels very slow in the beginning, and
there's some films that are just people sitting around talking, and those are enjoyable. And I think it's kind of the same thing. Not that they're sitting around and doing nothing, but what I'm saying is like a lot of stuff doesn't have to be happening for something to be interesting.
Oh no, I'm not. Oh yeah, I'm not someone that needs like flashy lights and it needs to be entertained. I mean, like a lot goes on in the movie. I'm not saying like nothing happens, but what I am saying is that I don't think that they handled a lot of the character choices very well. I don't feel like they handled just like the narrative, like, and because they wanted to get from point A to point B to point C, but I feel like they added a bunch of like point A1, point A2, point A. They added a bunch of extra things that I feel like didn't need to be there, but they wanted to be there to pad the runtime and make it a feature length. Like, because I feel like if they cut out a lot of the unnecessary stuff, I feel very unnecessary stuff. This could have been easily like a half hour, 45-minute hour movie, and and I feel like what ended up happening was they took characters. I don't totally hate what they did with Luke, but I don't love it either. He goes from being this charismatic, hopeful character, and I get the fall from grace. That makes sense, but I feel like the change of heart in the end wasn't. I don't feel like it was warranted, or I don't feel like it was earned, because even when Rey left to go, she was, I'm going to go stop them, even if you won't. Even then, it didn't seem like enough happened for him to like feel that change to like want to go help them.
Well, it wasn't enough. Then that's why Yoda came in, and they had that whole scene, and that's kind of what turned him around.
Yeah,
and he had been like out of touch with Yoda, which you kind of infer because he had been closed off to the Force. That means he hadn't been communicating with Yoda. So that's like a big thing for him.
Yeah,
coming into contact with Yoda and having that whole conversation about the text is not what's important. What's important, is what you're doing now, and like being in touch with the Force and going and helping Rey and all that.
Okay, talk about being in touch. I think that changing directors had a big impact. I feel like there was a lot of things. I don't mean to reference the 7th movie, but there was a lot of things. There was a lot of things that were hinted that were just kind of like dropped for new things. And I get that, new director, he can do, new director who this kind of thing, he can do whatever he wants. But I feel like it's kind of redundant, like saying that we're going to talk about this movie like it's its own thing, because it really was kind of its own thing, and it didn't really feel like it was a sequel. It felt like it was just trying to start its own canon and kind of do its own thing, which I feel like kind of this whole movie seemed very out of place, and it was hard to I mean, the only thing to me that reminded me it was a Star Wars movie was like the ships and like the lightsabers and Mark Hamill and Yoda, obviously. But if you took all those things out of it, I would be like, this isn't a Star Wars movie.
But what actually is a Star Wars movie? Like, it's what it is. Like, it's kind of hard to define, but it's a lot of like the characters and the monsters and like the Force and blasters.
I mean,
and, like,
it's
all
that
these things.
It's that classic drama trope of good versus evil, and when you try to kind of like throw the book out and say like, let old things die, there is no black and white. Everything's everything can just be gray. It's like that's like I get that. It's like and you get that it's a new generation, and it's like the Force is not necessarily something just for like Jedi and Sith. But the thing is though, like, Star Wars was built on that good versus evil, and when you take that element out, and not even if you take the element out, if you just try to mix it together, it's, I don't know, it's weird because I don't know, it's not a traditional Star Wars movie, which I guess is not, it's not like they're not trying to be, but I don't know.
I think in terms of the gray thing, I think in other Star Wars movies, there's less of an emphasis on that, but this movie emphasizes it more, which doesn't mean that wasn't in other movies and doesn't make it less Star Wars. For example, when you have Luke like falling prey to that and having that struggle, there is that sort of there is that like character struggle on whether or not he should do the right thing, or if what he's doing is the right thing, or if he should follow his father. And it could be interpreted as black and white, but I think it's the struggle that brings the gray, kind of like that back and forth. And I think this film emphasized it. It didn't like bring it and say like, oh, Star Wars is actually gray. But there is like a gray aspect. I think it's the grayest, like most like maybe conflicted Star Wars movie. But that doesn't mean that it's the only one that is that. And I think what makes Star Wars really, really depends, because when you I'm like gonna deviate a little bit, because like the prequels, like those, like the first two were garbage and the third one was like decent, and it could be argued like, oh well, those are not Star Wars because they like didn't have a good story or whatever. But I think what makes Star Wars is whatever the people who made the films decide. Like it's not really it maybe sounds a little bit like selfish to the audience, but the audience doesn't really get to decide. Like the movies are what they are, and that's what Star Wars is. And in terms of yeah, I kind of derailed where I was going before.
The movie is what it is.
No, not that. Before like Evan started like talking about stuff, I forgot where I was at. Anyway, lead me. Lead me, David.
Lead me.
You were. I think the derivative you're trying to find is that the movie itself doesn't have to follow any kind of trope, because in and of itself it's a standalone, and it defines itself by using its own source material as the way to guide the next series of events, by being different from what it already has been, which is black and white. By being gray, it's being different. And to you, that you feel like that difference is what makes it stand out and makes it better than the rest, because it's not following a.
Well, I think it does do a lot of things that are Star Wars. It like does reinvent some new things, but again, like I think not again, but like the director thing and bringing a new director and all that. The director himself doesn't make all those decisions, and he did write the script and everything, but there's like this whole group of people that are able to, veto things. It's a whole group of people who are making a film. It's not just the director.
But it's the director's job to make that creative vision and like interpret it on screen. Like that's his job.
Right. But then you have like other people like what's her name, Kennedy or whatever, that also like have input into that, and they could have easily stopped it from making certain decisions. And like in The Force Awakens, there are certain things that seem to be set up,
but then they get completely thrown away for the.
I think there was a lot of fan expectation about what was going to happen, and people thought that they knew what the film was going to be, and when it wasn't what they wanted, that's when.
I disagree. I feel like they subverted expectations for the sake of subverting expectations. Assumed that people would appreciate that, but instead it backfired on them, and then they just interpreted it as, well, people can enjoy original content, or they can't enjoy like an original gray story.
Well, I think the subversion worked, but it wasn't subversion for subversion's sake. Like people thought it was subversion because they expected something different.
Well, they expected something different because they set it all up. They set it all up for there to be like answers to specific questions, and when there wasn't, people were like, "Well, that doesn't make sense," or like that, like, where's the payoff for like the previous movie? And, like,
I mean, it's like the whole Snoke thing. Like, for example,
oh my God,
Palpatine didn't have a backstory, did he? No, it wasn't until 30 years later that they filled it in.
Well, no, he didn't. But the thing was, like, they built on his character like throughout each of the original 3 movies, and then yes, 30 years later you got his backstory. But the thing was, he was like built up to be the mastermind behind this whole thing, and then it was revealed in that movie that like, yeah, he was the one meddling with like the connection between Rey and Kylo. But to kill him off, I don't know. It feels just like a waste of a character. Not necessarily. I wasn't disappointed because I didn't find out his whole backstory. I didn't need to know his whole backstory. I just wanted more of him. And when you kill off a character that basically, wasn't that wasn't as involved as they, played him up to be, yeah, of course people are going to be disappointed because that's not what they wanted. They wanted, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think that's looking at more from like this is a story that's being written and constructed instead of like these are events that are happening and he just happened to get killed off. It's not like this story idea that's being built up and written. You're supposed to look at it more as this is a story that is being told rather than this is a story that's being constructed piece by piece. And I'm not 100% sure what I'm saying, but I thought the film was well made. It's definitely not a perfect film. There are definitely parts that are kind of goofy and kind of fall apart a little bit. But in general, I thought it's a really solid film that builds towards a satisfying conclusion and sets up for a really great film. The next film, I thought it had good to great acting in it.
My closing statement's going to be really quick, so you can say what you want.
I personally don't think it's the best Star Wars film. It's my favorite one, but I don't think it's the best one. I enjoy watching it from time to time. And
well, why don't we get to just kind of wrapping up, closing some things up.
Can I just say my closing statement?
Absolutely.
Just skip to the third act. You'll miss nothing.
Well then.
Yeah. I mean, without the first two acts, you wouldn't have the third act, and it is like a bit slower, but it has the buildup that leads to that, and maybe the third act does kind of outshine the rest of the movie, but that's just because it's so good at the end.
Well, I think all in all, I got two different people who feel two different things. I can surmise from both of those that Evan feels like a lot of the movie was paced in a way where you almost didn't want to pay attention to it, just due to unrelated material that has no reference, has no source, has nothing to go off of just for the sake of it being new and interesting, and then follows into actual action that just seems to barely pay off in the end, but doesn't exactly make sense for the entire plot of the story. Whereas then you have, in that same sense, it's good that it's changing a pace and putting you offset because you have to change before you become something different. You have to evolve in order to move on. That's how series go on. If it was the same thing over and over, you'd have Episode 7 syndrome, where it's like, this is very familiar to Episode 4. Yeah. This is very familiar to Episode.
Same plot. Yeah.
And I feel like in that same sense, you can appreciate the fact that they changed some things. They made some things different. They put you off. They made you think certain things differently from how you would expect them to be, and that's a good thing sometimes. And I think that's Nathaniel's point, is that you don't have to have the same things to have a good movie. You can enjoy it for the way it feels, for the way it sounds, for the way it looks, and that's the reason why he enjoys the movie. And Evan's going to instead watch Dragon Ball Super, where you get the payoff immediately. But
don't you attack my freaking Dragon Ball Super? How dare you?
didn't attack Dragon Ball Super.
Was that sarcastic, or was that like you actually do get the payoff immediately?
You kind of do, but
in Dragon Ball Z,
start
you
the
definitely
episode
don't.
with a review of all the that you missed from the last episode by literally playing the same thing for the last episode for the first 20 minutes, and then you get the rest of the story from this one.
I haven't watched enough to know, so sure.
But
it's my new home screen.
Jesus Christ.
What is?
It's from an anime. It's like, you making fun of my flavor saver?
That's weird.
But I think on that note, I
have mentally checked out of this.
You mentally checked out of the movie too, apparently.
Yep.
So you surmise what you think is right, what you think is wrong. Write us an email about it. Why don't you?
Yeah.
Why don't you actually use
right or wrong, but
flavor
maybe what
blast?
you agree with.
What
Right.
do you
Maybe
agree
not
with?
necessarily.
I don't think neither
I
of us
don't-
is necessarily right or wrong.
I take points from both of you that I feel are correct. Yes, the Mary Poppinsing through space doesn't make any sense. Yes, I like the scenes. Everything about it is different, but in a very contrasting way. I love a lot of the sets. A lot of the visuals really cool. A lot of the characters.
Like it's
different.
a very visually stunning movie.
I really was hoping that they did change some things from 7, where it's just like, oh, it's a bigger Death Star.
And I'm kind of scared that 9 is going to be like, here's a bigger Death Star. That's
in the theory of Emperor Saltines is going to reincarnate. So Emperor,
I talk like I ate saltines.
Yeah.
Strike me down. I can feel you.
So anyway, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on
Twitter.
YouTube, Twitter, all those
Also,
places.
we
Not on a milk carton, though, God damn it.
apparently we have a plethora of Nerdin' Out stickers. Maybe we could do a giveaway if people email us. Give you an incentive to email us instead of just doing whatever you ask us to do, because that's not enough of an incentive apparently. So if you email us at our Nerdin' Out email, nerdinoutpodcast@gmail.com,
just put a sticker in the headline.
Yeah, just put sticker in the
subject line. Yeah,
in the subject line. Give us a topic and a way that we can send you some stickers, and we'll send you. We have a plethora of stickers, so do not worry. We will give you an abundance of stickers, and we will still have enough. I guarantee it.
We have stickers for years.
Stickers for days. Stickers for days. Stickers for days.
We have a butt dance of stickers. So with
So-
that, I'm
And
Nathanael.
on that note, stay 2%, everyone.
I'm Evan.
That's a horrible.
I'm David.
Goodbye. I got the need for speed.
Takes a long speed.
That's char.
Pixie dust.
I'm so freaking ready. Are we
baking
recording?
powder.
Yes, we are recording.
Are we rolling?
Yes.
Are we rolling?
Yes.
Keep
Nathaniel is rolling.
We're rolling everywhere. I don't know what you want me to
Nathaniel,
say.
are we rolling? Sorry, that was just a stupid bit. I'm sorry.
I don't
Dude,
get
okay,
it.
so
Have you watched the 10-hour loop of Lip Biscuits keep rolling, but it's only the rolling?
oh gosh, no.
I've wasted time in my life. No.
Okay, so my wife found a lizard in our apartment today. Apparently, they can get through like
How big was it?
He is
About less than a foot.
about an 8 1/4 inch.
yeah, it was yeah. So I was surprised. Okay, so because we had a spider that was just outside our front door, like in the top left corner, and he just sat there for like a week. My wife hated him because it was a him. I give him a name, Alberto.
Wow.
I gave him a name.
Could that be part of the reason why she doesn't know?
That must have made it hard when you had to kill him.
I didn't have to kill him.
Good.
He disappeared. I don't know where
He
went.
moved out, bro. You got a big badass lizard came in.
Well, no. We think the lizard ate him.
Wait, did you name the lizard or the spider?
I named the spider
Alberto.
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 No. I named him Raul. Sorry.
Raul?
Raul.
That's offensive.
That's a more like douchebag name. I'm sorry, anyone
Yeah.
else who are listening.
Raul. Yeah, I don't know why. I looked at him and I was like, "You're a Raul." It could have been a chick. I have no idea, but could have been a chick spider. But
What would it be if it was a chick spider? What would you name it if it was a chick spider?
Ruth.
Ruth.
I don't know. It kind of
Why
sounds like
Ruth?
Raul.
I don't know. But so he was sitting up there for like a week, and every morning we'd walk out the door. She would just be like, I don't like that. And I was like, he's fine. He's staying right there. If he comes into the house, then he dies. It's that simple.
Wow.
She's like, okay, if he comes in, you're killing him. And then when I told her that I named him, he's like, okay, it's just gonna make it harder on you when he gets in here and you have to kill him. Like
This
it's
is
just-
true.
But yeah, she got home today, and then she sent me a bunch of pictures. And was like, we have a visitor. I thought Raul got in. And she was like, okay, I have to kill him now. Like, sorry. But I looked at the pictures. She found a freaking lizard.
Wanted to kill the lizard?
No. She captured the lizard. And then she put like a piece of paper under it and she sent it outside. She like released it back into the wild. But we looked it up. Apparently, yeah, they can get in through like small like cracks like in the window or like underneath your door or whatever. So it's
Spiders?
like
No, I'm
lizards.
just playing with you. I'm just playing with you.
Okay. And like on one-
Mexicans? No. They can get in through small cracks.
Oh yes, they can. We're not
Topical.
Yes, tropical. But
Okay, tropical, yeah.
she found out that one of the like the fourth best way to keep lizards out of your apartments, cats. A cat.
Oh.
I can't come over if you have a cat.
Dude, like, I made the mistake of mentioning to my wife that there's a slight possibility that I'm getting over my cat allergies.
No, you don't. No. No.
Now you should be like, oh, actually, I meant they're getting worse.
Yeah,
It's like
I'm dyslexic.
it's like I think it might be developing into cancer. So
Oh,
I
okay.
really can't have cats around.
Which
but
is funny because you can't spell cat without. Wait, no, you need a T in cancer, don't you?
cancer.
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 Type key.
Cat
Cancer.
Cancer.
You know what? All cats should have cancer.
I agree. Wait, they already do. See the way they look. No.
They just look pissed all the time.
Literally.
They are.
We have like my girlfriend has 3 in the house. One's an old cat, leaves me the hell alone because he knows I'm not able to
'Cause
touch
he knows
him or
better.
do anything.
Well, at
yeah.
least he's gonna die soon. What
The
about
other
the other
one-
2?
Their names are great. It's Big Boy,
Of course.
Trouble, and Midnight. Literally,
Okay,
that's
a
the
good
name.
But that's like every black cat's name.
I
Is it a black
had
cat?
Midnight is a black cat, but it's a small kitty.
It would have been
Oh.
dumb if he wasn't a black cat.
Midnight,
I would
pure
love that
white
cat.
Oh my god! Right.
That would actually be pretty funny.
I had an overnight shift. They had a dog and a cat. There was a bulldog who was like 6 months old. His name was Tucker, and he
Worst name ever. I'm sorry.
humped everything.
Okay.
And
Well, if you
so-
replace the T in the name with an F,
or a K.
Cucker.
I mean,
both did that.
I didn't actually want it to be that,
okay,
but that's what it ended up being.
and then there was a black cat named Binky.
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
That's
I didn't
terrible.
ask. It's just like, cool, his name's Binky. I'm not going to touch him. I took a nap. He woke up right next to my face. I was just like,
Oh no!
well,
No.
No, that's what made me think my allergies were going away a little bit because I was
What?
fine.
What type of cat is it?
He was a black
Tabby?
cat.
Was he like chubby?
No, he's
No?
pretty thin. I think he's like a black Siberian.
Maybe he doesn't
or
have
wherever,
enough-
whatever not
It's a thinner.
tabby.
It's a thinner cat.
Yes, it's thinner cat, male,
Maybe-
all black, no patterns.
Maybe he didn't have allergies because he had less cat on him. It was just
Well, there's
not enough
non-allergenic
cat.
cats. Like there's
Well, yeah,
different
well,
types
well,
of cat
well,
allergies.
No, because what it is I'm allergic to the protein of a certain protein in their saliva. That's what I'm allergic to. So, and all cats lick themselves.
So you should stop
cats-
making out
That's
with
a joke,
cats.
like-
Is
Yeah, I should stop doing that. But I'm just gonna go over it like that wasn't a weird statement.
It could be that he actually washes his cat.
I don't think that's possible because he was a quadriplegic. So there's no
Or
possible
someone in
way-
his family washes his cat. Jesus Christ. Literally, like, how could I have escaped that situation?
There's no
I mean,
way.
there's no
we know
way.
he
No
couldn't
way.
have.
Oh. All right,
But
we have
I'm
to start.
backwards.
We have to start now because this is just gonna keep
just-
spiraling.
it just keeps
It's gonna keep
spiraling
God almighty.
We've already hit on like every single topic.
All right.
We literally have just reverted back to the way we were.
Yeah, good. Which is where we want to be.
Topical, racist, political jokes. Just spackled throughout a normal, completely innocent conversation about cats.
Hey Siri, how do I get into cucking?
Don't. You
How
are
do I
married
escape
right
the
now.
situation?
You cannot just ask your phone that. Your wife now is going to be like, Evan.
No, she's gonna listen to this. Oh, who am I kidding? She doesn't listen to my stuff anymore.
Wow.
We're married. She just sees me at home.
Oh, yeah. No.
No, she literally told me that. She was like I told her, I was like, oh yeah, we released new episodes, and she was just like, I mean, I'm not gonna listen to them. And I'm like,
Ow.
oh, well, no,
She was our-
no.
she was our editor, our chief-
Let me clarify that because she's gonna chew me out for misquoting her. She probably, I think she said something more on the lines of, it's like, well, I haven't been listening to him much because I hear you all the time at home.
This is fair.
Personal podcast, but only 1 out of 3 though.
Yeah, exactly. We had
What
David.
about
We had
me?
David and Sabrina over once for dinner, so she had 2/3 of the podcast. So one time we just have to have all 3 of us here, just record at our apartment, and she can just sit in the corner. And
And be like, what have I done?
I married into this.
What have I invited into my life? I don't want it.
What demon have I invited into my home? All right, I'm gonna
I
start
know.
us off.
When I came over, Sabrina, after, she's just like, so do you guys just mainly talk about video games and comic book stuff? I'm just like, does this change the way you think about me? No.
How long were you guys dating at the time?
Oh, God. I was in, February-ish?
We had you over, around like.
Because you got the apartment very shortly afterwards.
Well,
and
no,
I
we
feel
got
like that was
we
in-
got the apartment in January.
It would have to be closer out
We
there.
signed the
then.
lease in January, but
Yeah.
we were married in February. So
I feel like it was shortly
I think we
after.
had you guys over like shortly after that.
Yeah.
like you guys were our first like.
Second, Doug was there first.
Yeah, Doug was there first. Doug was our first guest.
I was instructed to see the note that said,
By
Doug.
me, that sticky note is still there.
that's an impressive sticky note. Or
It
it's
hasn't
very
moved.
human in that.
And the thing is, though, unless you know what it says, you have no idea what it says.
That's like Rod from Parks and Rec. The person who kills me will know what this means. The will, the shapes, and
And then he the guy's like, what are these shapes? And he was like, I knew it couldn't have been you.
Well, no. Then But it's funny because from a distance, it just looks like DK. So it just every time I look at that note, I think of Donkey Kong.
Dongly Nog.
Dongly.
Decaying.
Conky Dong.
Conky Dong.
All right.